Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna do a quick video because I was basically asked a lot of the same questions this week over my Instagram. And if you've been following along, you know that I had a double cut shear from Milwaukee that has been giving me problems. And when I say it's been giving me problems, it has worked really well for us for probably 5+ years. So, you know, that's a long time to have a tool and use it all the time like we do, because we cut metal all the time. And a lot of people were asking me, you know, what was I going to do? I asked them, what should I do? Should I go out and get the same Milwaukee double cut shear, or should I look at another brand? And a lot of people said, hey man, if you had a tool that lasted 5 years, you use it all the time, I think it's probably worth getting it again. I mean, what are you gonna do? Unless you don't like it, it's probably good enough. And I kind of agreed with that. So I went out and I bought a new double cut shear from Milwaukee. This is about a $220 tool. I think it's about $220 bare tool. When I first got it, opened it up and put a battery in it, pulled the trigger, I was like, oh my God, I forgot how good it was when it was new. And you might be saying, well, Kyle, was it a brush problem? Did you not change the brushes? Actually, what happened, it's kind of weird because there's a little fan in here that I presume is keeping it cool while running it. Something must have gotten in there and broken it, because all of the fan blades broke off and were like coming out in pieces. I could shake them. And then I think something got stuck down inside. The trigger wouldn't operate. And you know what? Maybe I'll take it apart and maybe I'll repair it. But for 200 bucks, 5+ years, I just bought a new one, and I'm glad I did because this thing feels great. But the point of the video is a lot of you guys were like, hey, will that go over the ribs? Will you use that to cut, you know, across your ribs? What do you do? And I feel like I've done this video a ton, but since I got so many questions, I'm gonna do a quick video showcasing what you use a double cut shear for versus something like this, which is a nibbler. Now, I don't have my Hitachi, now Metabo HPT nibbler with me because it's in my job site trailer, but this acts the same way. So what are the differences then between a double cut shear and something like a nibbler? Well, I'll show you that, but also know that there are such things as single cut shears that look just like this, but they operate a lot more like a pair of hand snips. So the single cut shears are gonna have one shearing action versus the double cut has 2 cutters on both sides. Now, the double cut shear does leave a nice little string of metal, which I'll show you in a minute, versus the single cut shear does not. It just cuts one piece into 2 pieces. Also, the nibbler has the same sort of action, so it's cutting out little tiny, almost like half-shaped mooned niblets is what I've always called them, as it goes through the material, which is leaving you with 2 clean pieces. However, you also get left with a pretty good mess of scrap steel, whether it's in a little niblet or a strand, because as these things wear down, which this Makita set is definitely in need of a new set of punch and die, which is the piece that is serviceable and removable and changeable as it wears out. So you're gonna see that it's not doing as good of a job punching out half moon shaped pieces of metal. It's gonna be more like a strand. So I just wanted to show you guys kind of the differences and the application of when you're gonna use a double cut shear versus something like a nibbler versus something like a single cut shear. So the first thing that I wanted to do was take the new double cut shear and try to cut across the ribs. Now, that is usually where people, I think, get confused because they buy this thinking that they're gonna be able to cleanly cut across the ribs. That way when they're cutting maybe a window or door out, or up the gable end where you've got an angle that you gotta cut out, you're gonna find and you're gonna see that this does not work all that great. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and twist my head. That is so when I get through this, I will be able to go up and over the ribs. If I don't, what's gonna happen is when I hit the low side of the rib and I try to go up over it, everything here is gonna hit and I'm not gonna be able to get over it too easily. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put my ISO tunes in, some nice hearing protection, just because we're using power tools. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab a pair of gloves. I don't think I really need any safety glasses. Nothing's gonna be flying around. Although I'm sure some safety police out there are gonna say, put your glasses on. If I had a pair handy, I'd grab them. Anyway, let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna go ahead and try to cut. I'm just gonna kind of go right here. And I'm gonna try and cut up and over these ribs. Okay, I'm not even gonna keep going because I think you can see that that's a little bit of a pain. I would kind of compare it to having to cut your steel by hand with a set of snips, where you're going to keep pulling up your cut edge, and every time you get to a rib, it's totally doable, but it's not the cleanest of cuts. So the double cut shear is not gonna be used for going up and over your ribs. Where this thing really flies and makes most sense is when you wanna cut right along a piece of steel and you wanna just cut some flat material out. So there you go. You're gonna get this nice little curly Q with the double cut shear because remember, it's cutting on both sides of this curly Q. So the way the double cut shear works is that when it is using two sides of the shear to get two nice clean cuts, you're not getting the oil can that you can incur when you are using a single cut shear. The single cut shear is gonna usually leave one fairly clean side, but it's also gonna leave one side that's gonna be all wavy, the way that it's putting pressure on the steel. So with the double cut, you don't get that. You are usually gonna get two fairly clean pieces on both sides. So there you go. If you can see that, it's oil can free. So this is fairly straight, this is fairly straight. Now, the nibbler is what you want if you're gonna be cutting up and over your ribs. It is the best way to do it. It's the quickest way to do it, minus having your own shear, which you guys have maybe seen, the Swenson shear that I use to cut a lot of repetitious cuts. It's not as easy. It's a little bit cumbersome in a sense of setting it up, but it does a great job. With the nibbler, the punch inside is gonna go up and down super fast, and it's going to be cutting and shearing little tiny pieces of metal as it goes through. So I'll show you what that looks like. So right here is the trail of niblets that did not get broke entirely. So the tool kind of punched, but didn't get it all the way punched, and that's due to just being worn out. I need to replace this set of punch and die. The difference is it's very effortless to go up and over the ribs. One thing, a guy reached out to me this week on Instagram and said, hey man, I bought a nibbler and I'm having a hard time getting up and over the ribs. What do you do? When you go into the material, you wanna always keep your material perpendicular to the tool. So as you enter a rib, you can't just keep going straight through. You have to take it up and over the metal, like so. Now the biggest problem with the nibbler is that it leaves a pretty healthy amount of material that can get around. It can get in the bottom of your shoe. I've had it work up into my shoe and then start pricking me in my foot. So you gotta definitely be considerate of where you're at. Get yourself a magnet and run it over your work area so you can clean it up. You don't want them working their way into your tires and causing a slow leak. So that's the major difference between the double cut shear, the nibbler, and if I had my single cut shear, I would show you. Just know that the single cut shears, they operate just like a pair of tin snips, only they're gonna be battery powered, not hand powered, so you can definitely work a lot longer without that fatigue. You can run the nibbler around these profiles. it's not gonna be as clean of a job. If you're doing some detail work, you're gonna wanna use a nice pair of snips, because that's gonna be the cleanest way to get a nice cut on a piece of trim. I don't know if this was helpful. I just know that whenever I get a lot of questions about the same topic, I figure that is something that I might as well just address in a longer form video. Double cut shears are great, and they're super fast for going down like that and getting a nice clean cut on long flat material. But if you're gonna be going up and over the ribs, you wanna use a set of nibblers. They're gonna cost you a couple $100, so unless you're doing it a lot, it might not make sense. But then again, if it saves you any sort of time on a few jobs in its lifetime, because I've had this tool for probably 6 years, never changed the brushes, it's just kept working, then it's probably gonna pay for itself. I'll of course throw these tools, a link to them down in the description, and like always, that's an affiliate link. I gotta be open and honest with you. I bought this, I bought this, I bought these. So man, I'm not here to sell you on anything. I just wanna make your guys' job easier, more efficient, and better, so that you can make more money and enjoy what you're doing. And I think having the right tools, it makes working with metal a lot more enjoyable, and it makes me a lot more efficient, which is gonna add to profits to my my job. So hopefully this helped. I appreciate all the support, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, do all that fun stuff like hitting the like button, hitting the bell so you get notified every time we drop a new video. But with that, I'll let you guys get out of here, because I'm gonna get out of here and go back to what I was doing, which was cleaning my shop. See you later, guys.